Congratulations. You've made it through Dream It, Write It, Speak It, Believe It, and now we're going to get it done. I want you all to get out your bougie state of mind vision sheets. You can have your paper copy, or if you did it electronically, have that available. I'm going to go through here and tell you how these all connect. If your sheet looks like mine, it has way more on it than this. I just chose a few examples of things that people have said in previous workshops. I've created a few get it done sheets as examples, and then we'll go through an example so I can show you how you can brainstorm on completing your sheet on your own. As you can see, some of the things that this person may want to experience is being healthy, financial freedom, purchase a house, travel the world, to speak and improve the quality of life of others. In order to do these experiences, they have determined they need to be consistent, be more open to meeting new people, learn about money, how to make, save, and give, read a book a month, and the ways that they're going to contribute are creating jobs for their community, giving their children their own rooms, and spending as much time with the family as they can. Now, this is the one thing about setting a goal and getting it done. You have to know what your why is. Your why may be something you've written down in the experience, grow, or contribute column, or you might find that your why is something totally different and you haven't written it down. And that's okay because this is a living document and it may change. Now, I don't want you to change it because you've decided to give up. I want you to change it if, as you're growing and as you're breaking the rules and you're doing your research to determine how you're going to go about getting it done, that you discover new things or you realize that maybe you had written down a rule and it's now outdated and you break it and you remove it from the list. In looking at our Get It Done sheet, our Get It Done sheet is broken up into three major components: your timeline, what you're doing, and how you're going to get it done. Now, on this sheet, the steps to getting it done, you don't have to be married to it, because if you are married to the steps on how to get something done, that marriage then becomes a rule. So you may find in doing your research that what you write in the steps section changes because we don't know what we don't know. We're just making our best educated guess on what may work. So if you find new information in doing your research or speaking your dream to people, then you absolutely come back and update your steps. To give you a better example, let's go through one that I've already completed. Sample 1. This individual has selected a start date of December 17th, 2017 and a get it done date of 2017, 2018. Their goal is debt-free living. So I would say that this may be a reasonable goal, a 1-year goal. However, if they have a whole lot of debt, it may take them longer than a year. If they only have a little debt, it may take them less than a year. So that get it done date, you need to put something down. However, you have to determine whether it's going to be a short-term goal or a long-term goal for you. Now, the why they've selected is so I can spend as much time with my family as I can. That's a good enough why, I believe. They can use this why to propel them into doing some of the things that they don't want to do. Maybe they really want to go to a concert. However, that may add to their debt. And if they know that the reason why they're trying to get rid of debt is so that they can spend as much time with their family as they can, then those concert tickets may not be a priority. I would argue that they're absolutely not a priority. You have to focus on the vision. That's why we wrote it down and make it plain. I would hope that there's something reflecting being debt-free on the vision board for this person so that when they wake up in the morning, They're reminded that they're focused on being debt free. So when they get that call about going to the concert, they can be bougie and say, no, I have other plans. Now, some of the steps that are listed on here, and these are not necessarily written in stone, these are just some examples. They need to determine their total debt, create a budget, set up a savings account, and take a class on financial management. Now, in this column, you see the steps. To the right of that, there are subtasks. You may or may not have subtasks to your steps, and if you don't, that's okay. But if you do, I wanted to give you an opportunity to write them down so that you can track your progress and look at all of the things that went into accomplishing your goal. So when you complete it, you can realize how much you're able to accomplish. This will allow you to break other rules in the future. There's also a column for a date done. I think this is important because this will help you set milestones and gauge your progress. So if you put this down and it's December and you come back in March and you realize that you haven't marked anything off, then you know that you've potentially wasted 4 months of time. However, if you come back and you see that you've made progress, you'll feel a lot better about it. So let's see. Step 1, determine my total debt. The subtask to that is make a list of all my creditors, make a list of bills. That's something that's probably readily available. So we can say we can get that done by the 18th of December. So you would click in that space and use the calendar. And we'll say, oh, it's still defaulted to December 17th, 2018. So let's go back to 2017 and we'll have that done by December 18th. And that was the date was done, and we can check that off. Make a list of the bills. We could probably get that done. We'll say it might take us an extra day. And we'll mark that off. So now, when we're looking, and this is an older version of the form, so the version of the form you have, you can click in these boxes and a check mark will appear. So now we've got step 1 done. And it's all in the first 3 days of writing this down. So when I think about getting rid of my debt, I can feel like I'm already making progress because I already have one of the 4 steps done. Do you see how that works? Let's look at another example. And we'll use purchasing a home. Similar. We brainstorm how to purchase a house. This person's why is so my children can have their own rooms. And there are some examples of steps that they may need to do in order to buy a house. They may find out they need to get rid of some debt first because their debt to income ratio is off. If that's the case, then they may want to go back to their debt-free living sheet and update their why. And then their why becomes, so I can purchase a house. So I can purchase a house for my kids to have their own rooms. So your why may shift as you're doing your research for the process, as well as the steps that you need to do to complete it. However, when you look at this and you realize that I'm marking things off and I'm getting stuff done, you can stay focused and stay motivated and feel like you're accomplishing something. So if this person gets this done, and we'll just pick arbitrary dates for the purpose of demonstration. And I figure out how much it costs for home appraisals at the end of the year. And now I've got this done. So I've accomplished this step. I've accomplished this step. And again, the copy you have will allow you to use check marks. Now, I've got one step done. Maybe I skipped down and I've been looking at houses and I've decided that, my kids are older, and even though I want them to have their own room, we don't necessarily need a big backyard anymore. So I've decided that I want to live in a condo and doing my research. So now I can check that off. And maybe I know what neighborhood that I want to live in because the kids are getting ready to start high school and I really want to live in this district. So I can check this off. And now I know my location. And I found in talking with other people that you really should use a real estate agent. And I've been researching and I don't feel comfortable doing it on my own. So I'm going to use a real estate agent. And as you can see, these things were marked off out of order. So it's not that prescriptive. I've gone from step 1 to step 3, but I now have a barometer of where I am in accomplishing this goal. So now I can mark off step 3. So in the first month of working on purchasing a house, I've checked off 2 steps. When I go back and I look at debt-free living, I've got 1 step done, but I've also updated my why. So therefore, I may have to table my checklist. I may have to table this checklist for purchasing a house because I have to get rid of my debt first. But I know that. So down here, you can put in the notes section, postpone purchasing a home until debt decreased. So now you have a note. And when you go back to this sheet and you say, oh, I'm not making any progress, you now have a note to why. So now you can go back to getting rid of your debt. I hope this makes sense. If it's not clear, be sure to ask questions in the Facebook group or in the discussion section at the end of this lesson. Now, let's go back to our vision sheet. And I'm going to show you the process that I use in brainstorming how to come up with what I may need to be done. Maybe let's try being consistent, right? That's one thing that I really have to work on. So let's go to my goal of being consistent. And going back to my list, why do I want to be consistent? I can pick out several whys on here. I can want to create jobs for my community. I might want to be consistent so I can be healthy. I might want to be consistent so I can be financially free. So I can choose several things of what I need, of why I need to be consistent. And I'll just put so I can be healthy. It doesn't matter. It's personal to you. And I want to start that today, which is December. We'll start this on December 19th. How about that? Now what I'm going to do, excuse me. I'm going to go to my favorite friend, Google. And you just ask Google a question. I'm going to ask Google how to be consistent. What do you know? First thing, how to be consistent. 5 steps to get things done all the time. Then I can go and view what Marie Forleo has to say, and then from there, I can go into filling in my sheet. Now, she uses a video, so we won't go through watching the video, but I wanted to give you an example. I can then go back to my list and see what Dr. Gloria Petruzzelli has to say. And what are her 5 tips? Make a conscious decision. Revise your concept of time. Have a plan. Remember that feelings and thoughts are temporary and subjective. And do one thing at a time and be in the present moment. Now, those are all well and good. But how about we select something we want to be consistent with? Be consistent. We want to be consistent for showing up to events on time. One of the things that I do is set an appointment in my calendar. And when I set my appointments in my calendar, I always set them with the reminders that are at intervals that work for me. So depending on how far it is, I might set a reminder a week before, 2 or 3 days before. I remind myself 2 hours before because it typically takes at least an hour to travel anywhere in the city. So you want to do setting appointments in your calendar. You may want to set all the clocks 10 minutes fast. Me, I just start pushing a button ahead of the time that it's supposed to be, so I never know exactly how much time I have. And I trick myself that way because if I know it's 15 minutes fast, then it doesn't do me any good. I know it's 15 minutes. So if I don't know actually how much faster it is, but it's faster, then I have to trust the time. And then communicate participation. So if I'm not going to be able to go, I tell the people that I'm not going. And you can or cannot use this date done, but maybe you want to do this for a month. I say do it for 3 months to test it. And we'll check back in the end of March. And so now we have a gauge on, by the end of March, how many times did we show up to events on time? And I say that because when you're at events on time and you're not stressed out because you're running late in traffic and things of that nature, and being consistent with that, that'll lead to you being healthy because you're reducing your levels of stress. So these are some examples of how you can use the Bougie State of Mind execution strategy sheet. I am going to post the example sheets that I used are posted in there for your review. If you all have any questions, please leave it in the discussion or address it in the Facebook group. If you all have suggestions on how you may want to improve it, that's fine. This works well for me, but I also use applications for project management so that I'm reminded electronically, because the one thing that I always have on me is my phone. This has been the Get It Done section. I hope you find this useful. And remember, nothing on here is set in stone. Break the rules. If in doing your research, you find out that you need to shift, do a bougie shift in what your steps are, or update your why, that is perfectly acceptable. I want you all to dream it, write it, speak it, believe it, and get it done. Be bold, outspoken, unapologetic, good-willed, inspiring, and epic every day.